evening, everybody, and good evening, Predrag in particular. Despite that your lecture starts a little bit late, but anyway, it's nice to see you again with our students, Lithuanian master students, the great students, I would say, and Professor Predrag Pale from Croatia, University of Zagreb, and Department of Electronic Systems and Information Processing. He is very, very, let's say, skilled and very professional in ICT in general, ICT in education. And okay, it's not possible to, I already explained shortly before lecture, short introduction about you, okay, but finally we have you now. And please, Predrag, start. You can add, obviously, something about you.
I will say, okay. Thank you for this opportunity. Vincentas, I agreed that since I did already several lectures that are recorded about technology in education, the future of education, today I would like to focus on something that is not so much technical. It is about learning, how we people actually learn. The first question to you is, since I'm late, I'll make it less interactive than usually. You probably know all these people: Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Zuckerberg, and many of these other people that are listed here. What do they have in common? Besides being famous, being rich, what do they have in common with these people, famous people from the past? Well, all these people never finished college. They're college dropouts. So they were famous, they were successful, but they didn't manage to finish the college. Why? They are obviously creative, they are capable, but they couldn't go or didn't want to go through high school education, through higher education. The question is why? One of the reasons is this famous cartoon, which actually says that education is, one size fits all. So we all should be happy with one type, one method of teaching, one approach, which is actually wrong. We as people are different, and I'm going to try to explain you how and why. I'm an electronics engineer, and I'm very much in love with what technology, especially computers and internet, can do for human race, for people, for the culture. This is the list of things that I've tried only in the area of education. So using computers in education for so many years. Many, many things I'm trying to do. And some do give results, some don't. And most of them are still not very much broadly used besides me and a few of my colleagues. When we were designing various computer systems to help in education, then we said, yeah, but if we are professionals, we should learn something about psychology of learning, how people actually learn. And we wanted to learn this from our colleague psychologists. It turned out that in Croatia, nobody from psychologists in studies of psychology and pedagogy actually is studying theories of learning. So my colleague and myself, we both electrical engineers, started studying everything that is published on learning theories. And we have created a website because these here are just some of the learning theories. There are like 50, 60, 70 learning theories. And then finally, we created a small web page. Actually, it's a wiki that is available too. It's free. It's called learningtheories.org, where we try to explain various learning theories and methods, how to teach people, how people learn. And we try to fit them in one or two screens with all relevant literature. So if you're interested in this topic, you can find it at this learning-theories.org website. Now, based on this, what we learned, I'm going to try to explain you how I perceive that we humans learn and how we should teach better. So one of the secrets of good teaching that actually everybody knows, but we forget and we rarely implement. Good education is today in the focus of the world. Every country has strategy talking about improving education. There are many opinions, only few agreements, very few good practices, and nothing can be copied. You cannot see something and copy it to your organization, your country, or something. So the question is, what is the most important about a good education? This is Chinese symbol which represents knowledge. These are simplified Chinese characters, and I want you to I will give you 10 seconds without using paper, without making snapshots on your computers or mobile phones. I want you to try to remember what these symbols mean. So the first one is fire. The second one is tree. This is sun. Then we have moon, a man, a human being, mouth, door, and mountain. So you have 10 seconds. Fire, tree, sun, moon, man, mouth, door, and mountain. Try to remember them without cheating, writing, or screenshotting. So what we did, we made a research. We've been asking people, we've been asking teachers, how do you learn the best? What do you need? And I invite you to think, what do you need in the following slides? For instance, are you learning the best in the school that has good resources? If in your class other students are successful, if you have excellent textbooks, or if you have great teachers, or the educational program is excellent. So you have ability to choose only one of these. What is your favorite? What is the most important thing for you to learn the best? Most people answered what they need the most is the best teacher. Best teacher is most important. Textbooks, classrooms, program, but teacher is the most important. The second question is, what is important to you that your teacher does? The teacher should know everything, has status, titles, is very smart in general, or that he respects you, or that he is passionate about subject. Think, what is important to you? What kind of teacher would you choose? And what people said, they needed somebody who is passionate about the subject and respects me, cares about me. Next, how do you recognize that somebody is a good teacher? Because his students have good exams results, or it's a bell curve of results, all students say that it's a great teacher, or his colleagues say he's a great teacher, or that because his students become passionate about his subject. And most of the people said, well, the good teacher is the one who creates interest in students. So what is the key to good education? Is it that we have to tell students everything that's in the textbook, to go into detail, or that students gain interest to study by themselves, or we frequently assess students' knowledge, or we give all students the same resources, textbooks, time, our attention. So most people said that it's important that students gain interest to further study alone. And finally, in the lecture, what is important? That lecturer knows very many things about what he's talking about, that he gives him many facts, many data, or very precise definitions, that his information are detailed and accurate, or that I get the big picture. What is most important to me in a lecture? Details, many things, or big picture? And many people said that we need a teacher to tell stories and give us big picture, not bomb us with information. And finally, if I want to be motivated to learn something complicated, is it important that I understand why is it important to me? Why is it important to my teacher? Or that just he tells me, I know it's important, just to trust me and learn this because I know it's important for you? Or because I will have to do it in exam? Or I will get an award if I learn this? What is important? And people said, what I need is to understand why should that be important to me? What should I do with that knowledge? Thus, the key factors for my learning, what most people agree, is that I need a teacher who respects me, who is passionate about the subject, cares about me, will tell me story and big picture, show me why is it important to me, and make me interested to further study alone. So this is the blueprint, this is the ID card of good teacher and good teaching. As we said, everybody in the world talks about good education, many opinions, few agreements, very few practices. But one thing is sure, the teacher and his method of teaching are the key. not the duration of your program, not the content of your program, not the school, not the resources, the human being, the teacher, and the method he's using to teach us. So the question is, can the good and proper method of teaching be different than the one that you need? So if you're going ever to teach anyone anything, ask yourself, how would you like somebody to teach you the same thing? And try to be truthful to yourself. Teach the way you would like to be taught. Okay, but still, are there some advice? Are there some secrets? Is there something that we need to know? What would be fundamental advice? What is the secret of good teaching? Well, I have 5 things I want to tell you this night. First thing is, less is more. So first explain to students the essence, the core, the main idea, the cause, the consequence, the big picture. Details leave for later, much later. And an example I have is, if people don't know that the earth is round, they believe it's flat, or they don't have opinion, then don't tell them, our planet Earth is geoid or ellipsoid. Tell them it's a ball. Maybe it will come time when you will say, do you remember that we said that the Earth is a ball, it's round? Well, it's not. It's a little bit flat. It's ellipsoid. And maybe in the future will be time when you'll say, no, it's not ellipsoid, it's geoid. It's a little bit different. But at the beginning, don't go into details. Don't try to be precise. We usually try to be very precise from the very first moment. This is too much information. Less is more. Now, why is this? I will give you 5 theories, which are very simple. Miller and Atkinson studied human memory. Nobody knows how human memory works. But for the sake of discussing of teaching and education, people said, well, probably we have 2 types of memory, working memory and long-term memory. In working memory is where our understanding and learning happens. Right now, when I'm talking to you, you store everything in working memory and you are trying to make sense of what I'm saying. The problem with working memory is that measuring, what people measured is that usually we cannot store more than 5 plus minus 2 concepts. Some people say 7, some people say 4, but it's very few concepts that we can have in our mind. For example, in Croatia, we have a telephone service. You can make a telephone call and say, can you give me a phone number of this and that person? And until now, there was an operator who types in this in a computer and then lets computer tell you the number. And then the computer says, the requested number is 59999, and I'm lost. I don't know how many nines are there. Try figuring out how many things can you remember when you get them for the first time. In a few slides, I will have exercise for you. So the problem with working memory is when you are explaining something, you have to use as few items, as few concepts as possible. Definitely not more than 5. Long-term memory, in contrast, is where all our knowledge is stored. We do this unconsciously. If I say car, you don't have to think, oh, glass, windows, wheels, seats. No, you know what car is immediately. Or fire, or love, or democracy, or oxidation. You know this immediately. It's unconscious. You know it. It's in long-term memory. And nobody has measured the capacity of human brain. Nobody successfully made experiment in which I teach you so much that when I give you new concept, new knowledge, I prove that you had to forget something else. One comes in, one has to come out. Nobody has done this experiment. It seems that we have unlimited capacity, or very huge one. Also, nobody succeeded to measure how we forget. The older we get, you will have the opportunity to talk very old people. Sometimes they have also dementia, and they don't know if they've had lunch today, but they remember something that happened 50, 60, 70 years ago. So apparently it seems that we remember forever we have troubles finding it, but it's still somewhere in the brain. And this is all in the long-term memory. Now, why is this important? Well, one other theory from Anderson, and also Piaget and Bartlett also worked on that, but Anderson formed it, is called theory of schemes. And he says everything we remember is in schemes. Now I invite you, I will give you 10 seconds, and you are supposed to memorize these letters on the screen. 10, 9, 5. Now, does anybody volunteer to try to repeat? Vincentas, can you repeat this? No. Okay, then I'll give you another challenge. Try to remember this, 10 seconds. 5, 3, 2, and 1. Vincentas, can you repeat this?
It's much more easier, obviously.
But why? Look, these are the same letters. This is the same letters. We have 5, 11, 15, 17 letters. Why can't you remember the first letters, but you can remember the other 17 letters? The same letters. Because in the first way, we have grouped them so that first you can't remember 17 things. And first 5 groups mean nothing to you. But EU, USA, UNESCO, UNDP, and UN have a meaning for you. I guess if we gave them to Chinese or somebody in Africa, they probably won't be able to remember it. These things have meaning for you. These are schemes that you have learned and you have in your long-term memory. The same thing is with a car. The same thing is with the Pythagoras theorem or democracy or oxidation or fire or something else. So human brain, human mind seems to remember things in schemes, in concepts. Why is this important? Well, because if I'm trying to teach you something, then I will evoke one concept from your long-term memory and you will move it to your working memory. Then another concept and then another. And I say, you see, with these combinations, and we have a new knowledge. Ta-da! And now you have new knowledge. We'll come later how this new knowledge goes into long-term memory. But what happens if one of these concepts that I try to evoke, you don't have? For instance, you don't know what is oxidation. What happens? For instance, I will learn you how to cinsulate. And you will be cinsulating by using repunzation. Now, new term is cinsulate, but repunzation is also a term you don't know. So what happens? You don't have this concept. This concept cannot be in your working memory, and you cannot understand what I'm talking about. So you're learning nothing. Why is this important? If you're in a class and you teach someone and you're using terminology, words, acronyms, or concepts they don't have, or they are not clear with, you cannot teach them anything. So what teachers say, oh yeah, but I have to hurry up, look this up at home. Yeah, it's too late. They have lost it. They will not remember it. They will not understand it. And you are wasting your time. It would be better for you and for them to go out, walk in the park, love somebody, or watch for the movie, or eat. You are not teaching anyone anything if they don't have all the concepts required to form a new concept, if they don't have all schemes. This is the point. So the next question is, why do I have to learn this? Why do I have to study? Why is it important? What is it good for in life? What can I do with it? Now, we believe today, we say, yeah, this is important to explain to students. And we believe this is because of motivation. Then they will be motivated to learn. This is true. But there is something more important why we have to do that. Let me explain you. This is the third theory that we are learning today. It's Ausubel's theory of assimilation, knowledge assimilation. Ausubel said, all our knowledge are probably those concepts, those schemes, somewhere scattered in our brain. They are somewhat hierarchical, from general terms to specifics, and they are connected in networks. They have relationships somehow. They are somehow related. So when I give you a new concept, I have to evoke a related concept that it will be connected with. I have to evoke them. I have to nest a new concept in the right place in the network and connect it to existing concepts. This is learning. This is teaching. So I have to recall your knowledge into working memory, the right things, and connect them in some logical way with a new concept. And when you nest it in a proper way, you have learned. This is the process of learning. Now, what happens if you don't have one of the concepts? Then this concept is parked somewhere outside. It's not connected to anything. And what happens 2 days later, 2 days after the exam? It's gone. You don't have it anymore. You can even make connections temporary to some things like Earth is a ball and leave it there. And then later you can reconnect it, anchor it to another topic, to another concept, to make it more perfect, more detailed, more accurate. But in the first place, you have to make it in the right place. So using analogies, examples, stories, things that students already know and are familiar with is very important in order to put new knowledge in their brains. Therefore, you have to give them examples. Therefore, you have to check if they already have the concepts. Also, one important thing is, if I come to the lecture and say, look, next time we'll be learning about scintillation, and you have to know something about repulsation, check your knowledge, it's futile. Because only I, the teacher, know what it means to understand a hammer or fire or scintillation or repulsation. Only I know what it means to understand it. And I'm the one who have to check your knowledge, whether you know it or not, and then instruct you where to learn. So you cannot tell to your students, go and make sure that you know something about, I don't know, stock exchange. What does it mean to know something about stock exchange? I have to check your knowledge. So these are three basic theories I wanted to show you: memory concept, schemes, and theory of assimilation, how we assimilate new knowledge. Now, there is something else. When you teach, you should listen more and talk less. If you have to say something, try to make it a question. Ask your students a question. How would you do that? What do you think about this? Could you use this? Could you express yourself like that? Did Socrates think this? Did Michelangelo paint that? Ask them a question. Don't give them the answers. And if you really need to explain something, that use analogies, use examples, lots of examples, for the reasons I already explained. Don't give your students solution. This is the wrong way of teaching. Pose the problem and ask them questions. Let them define the problem and find their solution. And then put them in discussion. Let them discuss what is good about this and what is not so good about their solution. Why? And then finally decide on which one they want. So basically, you need to guide them through the history of how people came to that. For instance, when I teach them communication protocols, I start with the need to exchange information at a distance. Then we come to the first phone. And then we discuss how there was a problem with the rotary dials and the keys were better. Then we come to the point that it's on a wire. We would like to have the wireless phones. But how would you design it? And then they try to design it. And then we come to the digital phones, to the smartphones. So basically, everything that people invented or discovered about nature is because they had some problem or some need. So expose your students to that problem and need and invite them to invent. Guide them through this passion, to this emotional path in researching, in finding solutions, in fighting problems and not so good sides of solutions, because no solution is perfect. Let them feel the joy of finding the solution. Then they will remember. When they reinvent the wheel, they will remember it. Well, remember Chinese symbols? Well, now is the time for exam for you. Vincentas, what is the first symbol? Huh? It's moon. What is the second one?
Tree.
No, it's a man.
Man.
What is the third one?
Mountain.
Who knows?
Mountain.
Sorry?
Mountain.
Mountain. Great. What is the fourth one?
Mouth.
Mouth. Great. Next. Door.
Please.
Door. What is the next one?
Tree.
Yes, this is the tree. And now we have sun. And the final one is
Fire.
fire. Fire. This is a man waving with, you see, this is the same as the man. And these two dashes are his hands. He's waving with his hands and shouting fire, fire. Okay, I will tell you why is this so. Well, because there was a lady whose parents are calligraphs, and she's from China and decided to teach people Chinese symbols, and she simplified them, and she said, if I add this little graphical amendments to the symbol, it will be easier for you to remember that it is, it's in Croatian, that it is a man. Okay, in this way you can easily remember it's a fire, right? This is mouth, this is what? Sun, this is moon, this is tree, door, and finally mountain. So when she teaches Chinese symbols, she uses some additional things, some multimedia to help you memorize. Now we'll test this at the end of the lecture. Okay, so let's go back. 3 theories: memory, schemes, and assimilation. The fourth theory is theory of cognitive load. We teachers usually say, I have to tell them everything. The more I give them, they will at least remember something. This is completely wrong, and the research has shown that they won't remember. Actually, if you overload them with information, which I might be doing today, they won't forget anything. They won't remember anything. So there is a guy called Sweller, Australian, who came up with cognitive load theory. What did he say? Well, something that seems very trivial. He said, the cognitive load, the effort of our brain when we are trying to learn something, this load has to be lower than our capacity. If it's bigger, learning doesn't happen. So if you overload my brain, I get lost and I don't remember anything. I don't learn anything. So this sounds very simple, big theory. Sounds very trivial. Well, let's remember that everything happens in working memory, and we recall things from the permanent memory. So in working, these things are conscious, limited capacity, but this is where learning happens. In long-term memory, we have our knowledge. Now, what did he say about cognitive load? He said the cognitive load is actually consists of 3 types of load: intrinsic, extraneous, and germane. Let me explain what it is. But this combined load has to be lower than my capacity for me to learn. But his research has shown that if you make this load very, very little, learning also doesn't happen. The best learning happens when the load is just to the border, just to the edge of what I can do, to the edge of my capacity. Then is the best learning. So the teacher should somehow determine the cognitive capacity of his students and load them just enough, but not too much. Let us see. What is intrinsic load? Well, this is essential difficulty, how difficult some teaching is. Probably teaching, multiplication table is much easier than calculus or whatever, differential equations. So it depends on the complexity of the subject and also on your previous knowledge and your competencies. So what can we do to reduce this load? Well, we can split the concept in a smaller, or the course or subject or class, into smaller pieces, steps, phases, and we can use multiple channels. I'll talk about it in a few slides. Use multimedia, etc. So smaller, multimedia, various angles of explanation, trying to somehow simplify essential difficulty of the subject. The next load is extraneous load, which means that if we use unknown terms, if we move too much, if we distract students, so our method of presentation can be overloading students. And the goal is to minimize it as much as possible. And there is plenty of research and papers and advice on the internet how to do that, how to be better in transferring knowledge. But what is most interesting in Israel's theory is the third one, germane load. Germane is an archaic word meaning essential load. This one creates new schemes and automizes schemes. And this one should be increased. This one, so the first ones we try to reduce as much as possible. And then we have space to increase germane load. How? Give them assignments, give them problems, give them exercises, put them in the discussion, in debate, make their brain think, make their brain make connections to other concepts, make their brain suffer, integrate this new knowledge in various places, bury it and anchor it quickly and in a qualitative way into their existing knowledge map. So you can never give them too many exercises, too many problems, too much discussion. You try to use as much as possible so that you come to the edge of their cognitive capacity, but reduce the first two ones. So achieving in students' eyes aha effect, when they say, aha, now I understand, is not enough. You need to give them new problems, new questions, new assignments, so that new knowledge is applied, new knowledge is tested, and that they also discover the limits of the new knowledge, when it doesn't work, where it cannot be applied. Now, if you remember the previous slide and the knowledge map with those connections with concepts, what you can give them similar assignments, similar problems, or you can give them different problems. What benefit do bring one and the other? If you give them the same type of problem, they're basically walking the same path. They're just broadening the path, like walking in the snow. So the one connection they have between two concepts is becoming more solid. It won't be forgotten soon and easy. What do you get when you teach them through different problems? Well, you are creating different paths, different connections, which means that they will be able to access your knowledge through this new knowledge in different cases, apply the knowledge to solve different problems. So the knowledge will be have multiple applications, will be versatile. So giving them similar problems establish the root, makes it non-forgettable, and giving them different problems to the same knowledge creates many different connections. So when they say, aha, now I understand how to play this on piano, that's not enough. They have to play it on the piano. And then stimulate them to think, to discuss. What does it mean at all? Where can it be applied? What kind of problems could arise from using this knowledge? What if, what if, what if? They can never discuss too much. Who needs that knowledge? Why they need that knowledge? What else I don't know? What else I need to understand? All these questions are crucial to be asked. Take your time. Don't rush into new knowledge. Cement this. Anchor this knowledge. You spend your time, they spend their time. You spend your effort, they spend their effort to acquire new knowledge. now anchor it, cement it, so that they can use it and that they don't forget it, that they really, truly understand it. And the final theory is Meyer's theory of cognitive theory of multimedia learning. What does it mean? Our brain is not a single computer. It's not a simple machine. We don't know how our brain works. But research and your experience has shown that you can simultaneously process information from multiple channels. What does it mean? You can read what I'm presenting on the screen and understand what I'm talking. You don't have to close your eyes in order to understand my words. You don't have to stop listening to my voice in order to read. Our brain is capable of processing this in parallel, audio and visual. Even more, we are capable of processing in each of these channels sub-channels, like you can process pictures and text, the words, in parallel. You see the face, you see the arrows, and you see the letters, and you can process this parallel. Also in sound, you can process my words, but also the noise that comes from your environment. So all this can happen in parallel. What research has shown, what Meyer has shown, is that learning and understanding is better if we simultaneously stimulate more channels. So this is what these PowerPoint slides are good for, because when I say multiple channels and it's written on the screen, it helps you learn. If I give you a picture of a face and have arrows to ears and eyes, this additionally helps you to understand. If I'm talking about apple and you hear the sound of eating apple, it helps you understand what I'm talking about. So this is why multimedia is important, and if properly used, especially with tools like PowerPoint and all other sorts of things, not overcrowded, not confusing, if you do it properly, it really improves how we learn and how we remember. So we have these 5 theories. Memory, which means don't overload them with too many facts in the same time. Schemes, you have to make sure that your teachers know everything that you are using to construct new knowledge. If anything is missing, you have first to patch this missing thing and then go to the new thing. And it's your responsibility to check that they have all the parts that will comprise new knowledge. And the assimilation theory, which says that we have to connect things to already known facts. We have to use examples, we have to use analogies, we have to practice with the similar problems and different problems in order to put it firmly into long-term memory. Don't overload, so make the things simpler to understand. Don't overload them with your presentation styles, but do give them things to think about, give them questions, give them assignments, so that they can really reinforce their knowledge and not be overloaded. And finally, use multimedia as much as possible in a careful, cautious way. So these are 5 theories I wanted to present you today. There are 2 things, additional things I want to show you, and it relates to individual learning styles, which says that people are learning in different ways. And at one moment of time, like 10 years or 15, 20 years ago, learning styles were very popular and they developed like 50, 60, 70 theories about learning styles. Today, people are criticizing them and so on. But I want to show you what it actually means. And I guess you will be able to recognize your learning style in this. One theory is Kolb's theory. Kolb said in his experiential learning theory, he said, well, people, this is not so complex as it looks on the screen. People need 4 things to understand and learn something. One is abstract thinking. Other is, I'll simplify it, they need to see examples. The third one is they need to try to do things themselves. And the fourth one is they need to think about it. So theory, examples, practicing, and thinking, reflecting on the thing. And Kolb claims that in order to learn something, we need all 4 things. The only thing that is important is to understand that we as humans differ in the point that we start at different stages. For example, you need to tell me very quickly what is it about, and give me an example, and then let me try do it myself. Then let me think about it, and now give me the theory, abstract thinking. There are some people who get confused with examples. They need abstract theory first. So we as people are different. So in class, you have linear talking, you cannot accommodate everyone. But when we create digital learning materials, we can accommodate to everyone. We can tell, oh, if you need examples, it's here. If you need a theory, it's there. If you want to practice on examples, you can practice here. And here are questions for reflection. So we need to take care to try to accommodate various learning styles. If you give me theory without examples, I could, it's as if I'm not listening to you. I don't understand you. I need examples. Other people are confused with examples. They need theory first. Others need to think about the thing first. And finally, the last thing I want to tell you again about learning styles is you probably know people who need to read in order to learn something. While I'm talking to them, if they cannot read it in paper, they won't understand and they won't remember. You probably know people who need to write. These are students who are writing extensive scripts from lectures. Everybody is photocopying their scripts, but they basically don't learn from them. Other people do, but they don't, because their process of learning happens while they are writing. Third group of people are those who need to listen. They can see written words, but they have to hear them spoken. You can recognize those people that are sitting alone in a room and reading book aloud. If nobody else is talking to them, they will be talking to themselves. They have to hear it. And the final group of people I proudly belong to are those who needs to be speaking. When I speak, I think. Therefore, I give so many lectures. Therefore, don't dare to ask me what time is it, because you'll get a lecture about time. Because when I talk, I actually think. So if in a primary school, the teacher says something and then the little kid turns around and keeps talking to the guy behind him, and they say, oh, this kid is disrespectful or has ADHD or something else. No. These are people who have to talk. He has to explain this to others in order for him to understand. So the best thing in the classroom would be to recognize them and give them assignment to repeat what the teacher has said. Those who need to hear it, he will hear it twice. He will learn because he is speaking, and everybody is happy. So with these learning styles, I wanted to show you that there is not one silver bullet, one method of organization of a class or a learning material, teaching material that is suitable for everyone. Basically, this is true also for teachers. You cannot be the best teacher to everyone. What you can be a good teacher to people who learn the way you learn, who have concepts that you have, who perceive the world in a similar way like you do. So the job of a teacher or anyone who teaches, and today in every profession will be teaching somebody something, because the way the world goes, our job is to try to understand who our learner is and try to adopt this learner. We have to respect them, we have to be passionate about what we teach, and we need to help them acquire the knowledge the way they are doing it. So in summary, memory model, don't give them more than five concepts in order to learn the new one. Make sure they have schemes in their mind. Take care of the process of assimilation and repeating, rehearsing, exercising, memorizing. Take care, do they need more examples? Do they need first theory? What they need first? And what is their preferred channel? We all learn in all ways, but there are preferred ways and channels. And of course, take care about cognitive load and use multimedia in a proper way. So these are some essential things I wanted to share with you, which I believe if we would be applying in our learning and teaching, we would be much better, much more efficient in the process of learning and teaching. So, in short, create the foundation of knowledge. Why do I have to learn this? Give them only important things. Ask questions instead of talking. Listen more than you talk. Don't give them the solution, give them the problem. They want a storyteller, not a speaker. Use analogies, examples, illustrations. Use multimedia. They have to practice, and they have to practice immediately, not in 2 weeks. They have to practice immediately after you explain them something. So give them a lot of problems, assignments, questions, discussions. Let them think about the knowledge, meta knowledge about knowledge. What is it good for, where I can use it, who can use it, where not. And finally, create your teaching in a way like a good soap opera or a good restaurant. Let them want more. Let them be anxious to come to the next of your lectures to learn more. Or tell them where they can go and learn more when they come home and they are very curious and want to learn more. So this slide is a cheat sheet about good teaching. So let's test what you remembered. Okay, what is the first one?
Fire.
Fire. Next one?
Tree.
Tree. Then
Sun.
sun, moon,
Moon. Man.
man,
Mouth.
mouth,
Door.
doors,
And
mountain.
mountains.
and mountain. You see advantage of using multimedia in learning Chinese? Because we all have to learn Chinese. Trust me. This is from the website called Chinesey. Go and learn Chinese. We believe that the success is achieved as a straight line, but actually, this is the way we are coming to success if we ever manage to. Thank you, and apologies for being late once again.
Oh, thank you, Predrag. It's usually so interesting to listen to you, and it's never enough. I'm pretty sure because it's not the first experience, obviously.
Questions? Don't
Yes.
disagree with me. Fight.
Yes, let's go. To let's say educational fight. Why not? Who is best?
Who is best?
It's-
What?
It's really nice because you managed time despite that was lecture was in delay, but never mind. It's really good, really good. Okay, just for as a start, like a starter. Okay, but today, let's say, we have artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we need to learn?
So what is the question? Who needs
Yes.
teachers if we have artificial intelligence?
Yes, it can be replaced.
Since the invention of personal computer in early 80s, the question is, should computers replace teachers? And somebody gave an answer that I'm always repeating. Every teacher that can be replaced with computer, with AI, should be replaced. If AI can do my job, then I shouldn't do it. So the real question is, what is that we humans are the only ones who can give to other humans in teaching that computers can't, that artificial intelligence cannot? And this is the question for all of us. Each of us has to think, okay, if I'm teaching, why do they need me? What will happen? Why can't they use AI and Google and YouTube and MOOCs and courses and exams instead of coming to my class or listening to me online? What I do, I ask myself, okay, what I need to teach this group of people on that topic tomorrow. What mistakes are they going to make if I don't teach them? What mistakes will they make if I don't teach them what I intended to teach? And then I'm starting thinking, okay, how can I check? Are they going to make this mistake? So basically, I'm creating exam or problem they have to solve to see if they are going to make this mistake. And then I say, okay, this is how I'll be examining them. And if I figure out that they don't know this concept or they don't understand this or that, how can I teach them? What kind of exercises can I give them? And what kind of information I have to give them? So basically, I'm constructing my lecture from the end, from the learning outcomes. But learning outcomes in a sense, we are sometimes too, excuse me for a moment. Sometimes we are too formal about learning outcomes. We have to declare learning outcomes of my lecture, so I'm going to the checkbox and checking them. Forget this. This doesn't make sense. Ask yourselves, if I don't teach them tomorrow this topic, what mistakes are they going to make? If there are none, I shouldn't be teaching them that. I should be teaching them something else. This assignment still cannot be done by AI. And again, when I'm teaching, for instance, presentation skills, I explain to people that I strongly believe that the reason to stand in front of people and present something, the only reason is to give them emotions, not the facts. 3.141592 is pi, but you can get it from the internet or from the book. My job is to explain why is it important, why am I passionate about it, what's great about this constant. That's what humans have to do. That's what teachers have to do. Create interest in students, be passionate, bring emotions, challenge them, give them complicated assignments, and have fun with them. That's what I see. And yes, AI should be used as much as possible, because you have to be very critical thinking. When you get some response from AI, you have to check it, you have to verify it, you have to be very critical about it, because many times it's wrong. And you cannot be sure if it's right or wrong.
Okay. More questions or comments or reflections, it's really nice. Please write in the chat or just raise possible, Leila, you want to, because we have today some exception, 2 lecturers, 2 presenters, and from another perspective, another continent.
Hi, Vincentas.
Hi, Laila.
Hi, Predrag. You're asking me what to give my perspective on what Predrag has said?
Yes, sure.
Oh, okay. So I thought about a lot. I thought about a lot of it. I found like what was useful when you were speaking is I thought that there were a lot of models. That's the idea that I got. So that in the end, when you were presenting all of your different models, I liked basically you had a model at each stage. So your first model is how many things do you move from working memory, from short-term working memory to long-term memory. So you said maybe 5, and then you got to thinking pictures and talking stories. I really like that. Then you moved on to Kolb's learning cycle, and then you moved on to something that I thought of as VAR when you were thinking about people who read, this is the people who listen, who speak, and so on. And in my mind, that linked very heavily to VAR, which was, as you know, visual, auditory, reading, and kinesthetic. That is how it mapped over into my mind. So what I really liked is that how at each stage of the learning process, you used a different model and you linked all of those together into a learning system. Because part of when you were talking, I was saying, okay, how do I look at this in a new way? Because when you were talking as well, one of the models that came to my mind was induction and deduction. Because you were talking about, do I give a theory or do I give an example? So for me, for that, I was like, okay, that to me ended up to be, do I teach from an inductive point of view or do I teach from a deductive point of view? And I honestly like to move from induction, to move from this point of having example and moving towards theory, But then you also went on to say, like, some people move the other way. And one of the things I think you also said was, you said something which I'm not 100% I agree with, which is teach the way you want to be taught. I think that's what I heard you say.
Yes.
But I have always thought that that is our weakness as teachers, because the first thing we do is we teach the way that we want to be taught, assuming that everybody learns the way that we learn. So like for me, I like to learn in a very inductive kind of way. But I have realized that even as I teach, I think a lot of my students are deductive. Like when I teach in an inductive sort of way, you have, and I guess this is what you're talking about, you introduce a high amount of cognitive dissonance in the class. Because what you have is you have a lot of pieces all over the place that you now have to assemble, or you have to find a pattern for to move towards the theory, right? And I find that even though I think students get it, in the end it takes me much longer to get there, and I have to deal with a high amount of dissonance and discomfort in the class until I get them to that point. So I have said to myself in the past, don't assume that everybody learns the way that I learn, and really try to figure out more in the class how people learn, and really to deal with that. So that's, I think, the only thing I really disagreed with you on, and you could tell me why we probably have this point of contention. But again, I would reiterate, I really liked how at each stage of the learning process, you basically had a model. So instead of having one collapsing model, because you could have started with Kolb alone, right? And then drawn everything into that. But every stage of the learning process, you basically had a separate model, and then you link them together, which I think made your overall proposition stronger.
Thank you so much. I indeed need to explain, I was in high speed trying to catch up on time. So I probably have sounded contradictory in these two things. And thank you for bringing that up. When I said teach the way you want to be taught, was relating to the first part, whether you want to have a lot of information or you want to get us the big story, or you want to have details or a big story, because basically in that part we are pretty much more the same. Also, the reason when I say teach the way you want to be taught, you have to be master at that style first. Don't try to teach in all possible ways, all possible people. Be good in this style. Once you are comfortable in this style, when you are really good, perfected in that style, then you can try to accommodate also others. So this is the order of things. And yes, then I was advocating that you have to understand that some people need more examples, some people need more theories, need more information, they need more stories, and various channels. Yes, but this comes later. Don't try to first master your teaching skills by trying to be somebody else. Be yourself. That's at least the way I see it.
I hear you. So that's interesting, because I would like to ask you, when did you realize how you taught? Because just being able to understand how you teach and how you learn is an extremely metacognitive kind of process, right? Like, at what stage in your journey did you understand how you learned, so that you could understand that you were actually teaching this way because this is how you learn? Because to perfect it, you would have to to perfect the art of how you learn, you would have to first understand how you learn, and realize that you are catering to that in your teaching.
Look, I'm teaching for 30 years, so I don't remember when something happened, and it certainly didn't happen just, in one moment I was aware of everything. It was a gradual process. For instance, when I encountered Kolb theory, I understood it, I was ashamed. I usually tell the story in my organization because I was doing many things, and I was building Internet for Croatia, etc. And there was a lady that we thought is, she completed very complex study, and she was working with us, and we considered her to be smart. But I ended up believing that she's dumb, because when I was explaining her some new idea I had, I was giving her a lot of examples. The more examples I gave her, the less she understood me. And I thought to myself, oh, she's dumb. Then when I learned about cold theory, then I tried giving her abstract theory first, and she understood everything from the beginning. And then I was ashamed, understanding that I was actually bullying her. I was violating her because I was incompetent. I didn't understand that not everybody learns the way I do. So I can remember that moment. I can remember that scene and my feelings, my emotions when I realized that I was very unjust person and basically incompetent in doing something with her. The next thing when I learned about this hearing, writing, talking, then I again, it was a revelation to me, because from my childhood, I would be walking, waving my hands and talking to myself. And I was always afraid that somebody will see me and tell my parents, and my parents will be scared that I'm crazy. But I needed to talk at least to myself in order to explain ideas. So these things happened gradually as I got to some theory, as I learned something. But many things, in many instances, the theories were actually just confirming something that I intuitively came to, which probably every teacher after some years of teaching comes to. They just help you to explain to yourself. They help you to confirm what you believe or you have intuitively come up with, and help you also explain others and sometimes convince others.
So thanks for that. And not to take up too much more of the time, I know a lot of people probably have questions. And the reason I asked you that is because before we can, I'm asking about how do we get into a method? Because before we can get people to teach the way that they learn, they have to understand the way that they learn, and they have to understand the way that they teach. So how do we then get a method? It's obviously something reflective and something metacognitive about how do we get people now to step back and look at the way they teach more so that they can actually practice that. Because that is what I saw when you assembled all of those little models. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
I see that as a method, because I'm saying the first thing I would do is this according to the model, your models. The next thing I would do is this according to the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, so that I can actually map out a teaching strategy from that last slide you did. So what I'm asking is, how do you get people to develop that? What is the method by which we get teachers to say, this is how I learn and this is how I teach? Because that takes a long time.
Well, maybe not so long.
Short answer because time limit.
Okay, no problem.
That's a great question, and it's very important. And actually, it has also extension. So I believe it could be done in a relatively short time. You have to put teachers in a classroom, in a workshop, where actually this will be all about. Let's find out how we learn, what's important to us, what works for us, what doesn't work for us. This is essential. Understanding yourself, understanding your cognitive processes, and this extends to other things. Today we are telling teachers, oh, there is a great new method of teaching. Now we should go into problem-based learning, or we should go into project-based learning, or something else. I profoundly don't believe that I can teach someone in a method which I just read about and never have experienced as a learner.
Got it.
So we have to place the teachers in a situation when they are going to learn in a new method, then explain the method, and then let them practice this new method. So this is something that is, at least in Croatia, this is missing from our teacher training efforts. We don't do that. And in general, when I work with teachers in primary, secondary schools, I see that they have memorized a lot of theories about how to teach and methods, but they didn't practice them sufficiently, and they didn't practice them sufficiently under supervision of experienced practitioner teacher. So they have too little practical experience, and then whatever they have learned, they cannot apply.
Okay, it's really burning issue. Teacher professional development, teacher education in general. Possible we will leave for next time. Maybe physically, as I mentioned, both of you next year at the end of April. We are going to organize our traditional 30-second conference, and let's hope that we will meet somehow, possible in Lithuania. I hope so. And thanks, Leila, for your contribution. Really nice contribution to our discussion, to something like a brainstorming. It's really nice. It's really useful. And Predrag, please keep well with your ballet procedures. Yeah, as I understood, after this lecture, you continue to work as, let's say, in another field. Okay, and. Keep well, safe, healthy, and we will meet again. I don't know, virtually or in.
Well, I hope that we will see each other in April physically in Lithuania. And we both, Vincentas, have to remember that we live in two different time zones. That your 5 is mine 4. I made a mistake again.
It's only 1 hour. Only 1 hour.
Yeah, only 1 hour. Yeah.
Oh my lord.
But okay, I'm ashamed. Okay, thank you.
I checked my email. It was clearly stated Eastern European time zone.
I'm not reading.
Okay.
Nice to meet everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.